All right, Alexis, what is it you want to learn about today?
I've heard you use the term crossing the Rubicon before. I remember watching it, you saying it during Terminator 2, and then I remember Mom nagging you about violent movies later, and then you mentioned crossing the Rubicon.
Right, I didn't say it while we were watching Terminator 2. So, I wonder if I have any Terminator gifts. I'm going to need to find something that's not very violent, or else I'll get this channel banned already here. Like, oh, there's a Terminator gift.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, this is the story. So, I watch movies with Alexis. I show her all the great movies that I have watched. And one day, yes, her mother was... we were talking about a movie, and she was saying, I don't know if Alexis should watch that.
It's Silence of the Lambs.
Was it Silence of the Lambs?
I was asking, the new thing, like, Clarice came out, and I was asking about Silence of the Lambs, because I've sort of heard about, like, Hannibal Lecter and stuff.
Right. And so, my wife said that she didn't think Alexis should watch that because it was a violent movie, and I said that, well, we've already watched Terminator 2 and the scene where the T-1000...
The milk.
Yes, stabbed the guy through the milk carton into the mouth. So we've already crossed the Rubicon on violent movies.
That really wasn't that bad, though.
So, crossing the Rubicon is a fancy way of talking about a point of no return. So once you cross the Rubicon, there's no going back. It's sort of like... sometimes you'll hear people say you can't unring a bell or you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so Rubicon is a fancier way of saying that because it's history.
It sounds cooler.
All right, so let's see if we can get, we'll do Rubacon River, Italy.
Ooh, that way is
Italy map.
To correct you because it's Italian. Oh.
So, in ancient Rome, there was a river called the Rubicon. And according to the laws of ancient Rome, that was sort of the border where Italy proper and Rome proper started. And Rome was founded on the idea that people should not have too much power.
Oh, really?
Yes. So,
ironic.
Originally, the Roman people were ruled in a monarchy, and I believe those people were called the Etruscans, but we may look that up some other time. And they overthrew this monarchy, and they established a republic.
And they established an empire later.
Well, that comes later, yes. So, republic in Latin is res publica. It means rule by the people. And yes, instead of having a king, they had a senate. And the people elected the senators. And the senate was led by 2 consuls that were also elected. And so part of the rules is because... they were afraid of people having too much power, A. And B, because ancient military, so the U.S. military is very modern, so we'll kind of do a little thing here. That's like an army helmet. It's terrible. Sorry.
Poor man.
So part of being a modern professional army is that the soldiers are loyal to the country and the leadership. They're not necessarily loyal to the commanders that are directly over them. And in antiquity, so ancient history, even up through like the Middle Ages and stuff, it was sort of the opposite, where... That's a sword. Is that an ugly sword?
Yes.
Okay. A lot of times the soldiers were more loyal to their general that recruited them and led them than they were to, in this case, what would be the Senate and the consuls and the things like that. Or at least that's one of the things they were afraid of. And Rome is sort of in between, right? Rome sort of lives in this
It
zone.
was probably modern for its time.
Oh yes, the Roman legions were awesome,
That's how they conquered everybody.
they were a professional army, which is true, and they were paid and things like that. And their generals were moved around, but it's not like so now. That's one of the reasons why. So like our family that's in the military, their commanders change a lot. They move a lot. They're moving into different units. And that's part of that is so that your loyalty is to the larger country and it's not to your specific local commander that you see every day.
All right.
And so part of the rule of the Rubicon was that if you had a Roman legion, you could not cross the Rubicon. It was considered an act of treason and they would
Kill you.
kill you.
What happens if you crossed it and you killed everyone else?
Well, that's what Julius Caesar did.
Of course it is.
So, crossing the Rubicon, there's a famous incident. Gaius Julius Caesar, or just Julius Caesar, probably the most famous ancient Roman that we know. He led a legion. It was the 13th Legion.
Roman numerals.
Yes. He took the 13th Legion and he famously crossed the Rubicon and invaded Italy and sort of made himself the beginnings of an emperor. He wasn't ever necessarily totally emperor.
This is the beginning of conquest.
Well, he started. He was assassinated before he could sort of consolidate the full sort of imperial power. It was his heir, his nephew, Octavian, who changed his name to Augustus Caesar, who finally cemented that position as sort of emperor of Rome.
Octavian was the 8th.
That is correct. Caesar famously crossed the Rubicon, and according to, sort of the history books, Caesar comes up to the Rubicon and he uttered the phrase "alia icta est," which in Latin means "the die is cast." It's sort of saying that, like he's already made his decision. It's sort of up to luck and fate of whether it's going to be a successful decision or not, because once he crosses the Rubicon, he's a criminal, and if he wins, then he gets to survive and he gets power, and if he fails, he's going to die, either in battle or he's going to be captured and they're going to try him as a criminal and execute him.
I was about to say, and if you fail, you die.
Yes.
Very high risk situation.
So the situation that led up to this is there was this thing called the Triumvirate.
Triumvirate?
Yes, it's 3 people that are ruling together.
That makes
One of them was Julius Caesar.
sense.
The other one was a man named Pompey Magnus, or Pompey the Great. And let's see, Roman triumvirates? This is it. So, this is the primary triumvirate. So, we have Pompey Magnus, which is this guy here. And then this guy is Marcus Crassus.
Marcus?
Yes, he was super rich. And then Gaius Julius Caesar. And in this triumvirate, so these 3 guys, so Pompey and Caesar were consuls together.
Yeah.
And these 3 guys sort of cemented an alliance to sort of be awesome and run Rome together. And they even cemented it with Julius Caesar had a daughter named Julia that he married to Pompey.
How original.
Wait, no. Pompey's this one. Sorry. And so Pompey Magnus is like, he earned that name. Like, he was a great military general. I believe he put down Sicilian pirates, I think is one of the things.
What's Sicilian?
Sicilian's like an island of Sicily out by Italy.
Oh.
Marcus Crassus, in addition to being crazy rich, so have you heard of Spartacus?
Yeah.
The slave?
The slave, and everyone started claiming to be him, so they killed all of them.
Yeah. This is the guy that hunted them down and killed them, Marcus Crassus.
He killed all of them, or the real Spartacus?
He was in charge of putting down the slave revolt.
Oh man, he killed everybody.
And then Julius Caesar was primarily considered just a politician because the people loved him and the veterans of the legions loved him. And so he was very popular. Well, so this triumvirate started to fall apart.
Oh.
So the first thing that happened is this guy, Marcus Crassus, people forgot that he was in charge of putting down Spartacus' slave rebellion, and they just thought, he's just got money. Pompey and Julius Caesar, they're really the guys.
Killed everybody.
And Julius Caesar, part of that was because he had his legions. He was a governor of a place called Gaul.
Gaul?
Yes, modern day France.
Oh.
And the Gauls, he won a lot of victories conquering the Gauls. And so Caesar was becoming even more popular, so he wasn't just the politician, he was becoming a great military leader too.
For conquering France?
Well, it was before they became France. They were the Gauls. They were barbarians. And so Marcus Crassus set out to build up his own army, and he was going to conquer these people called the Parthians. They were to the east. They were kind of deserty type folk, sort of on your way into Syria.
Mad Max.
Yeah. Well, Mad Marcus went to try and call the Parthians and got slaughtered and killed.
Ooh.
So Marcus Crassus dead. Ooh, let's make it even funnier. We'll put X on his eyes. So Marcus Crassus died.
Yeesh.
Pompey Magnus, was married to Julius Caesar's daughter Julia.
Original naming.
Well, they totally did that a lot. Julia died. Yes. And so their relationship sort of started falling apart. And then what happened was this political alliance starts falling apart.
Oh my.
And the critics of Caesar start building up this plot against him where they are going to basically use criminal charges against him to try and get him to sort of lose his power.
But why?
Well, they just didn't like his politics, and so
it's not his fault she died.
Well, no. So their relationship just soured after his daughter died. Pompey joins the group of people who were Caesar's political opponents.
Oh, okay. That makes
And
more
so,
sense, but why?
So, but that's part of the deal is they're going to charge him with crimes. And while he is a consul and while he is governor of Gaul, he has what they called imperius or imperium. I think it's imperium. He couldn't be charged with crimes while he was serving. And so whenever his time was running out, he had to come back to Rome to run for re-election.
Yeah.
Which means that if he was going to come to Rome, all of his legions had to stay over here.
Oh, and I'm guessing, I don't know, he thought they might plot or something?
And so he was faced with a choice. He could leave his legions behind and go to Rome and probably get arrested and charged for crimes. He could stay in Gaul and let his terms expire, and he could sort of just fade away from public life and just sort of go away.
I'm cool with that if it's basically death.
Or he could take, I think he had 3 legions under his command, but the 13th is the only one he took, I think. We could look it up. Or he can take his legions into Rome.
Just like, you know what, this rule, screw it, I'm going in with
well,
my
that's
army.
what he did. He marched up to the Rubicon, said, Alia icta est, the die is cast. Yes, marched his forces into Rome. His opponents were so bewildered. They were confused. They were scared. They were
oh crap.
They were totally caught by surprise. They fled Rome. What? Julius Caesar marches into Rome. and it starts a period of Roman civil war.
They just left Rome?
Well, if they stuck around, they were going to die.
Okay, fair enough at this point.
And so, let's see. So, First Triumvirate. There's some more pictures of them.
More people.
Yes. So, let's see.
You know what this reminds me?
What's that?
The 3, council members from Underworld. It's like, they all just kind of...
That's it. Yes. So,
Yeah.
so Pompey, he, of course, is a military guy. He won a war in Armenia. He also, he did something with Sicilian pirates, I'm pretty sure. Anyway,
Sheesh.
yeah, it's pretty long. Well, it's a very important period. So, that sparks this Roman civil war. Caesar is the victor. And then he is pretty shortly after betrayed and assassinated before he can sort of consolidate his power and become an emperor.
That's Brutus, right?
That Brutus and Cassius are part of the conspiracy to murder him, yes.
Yeah.
The Senate had started to vote to declare him what's called Dictator Perpetua, which is dictator for life. But he was assassinated, and then, like I said, his heir, Augustus Octavian, which was his nephew, is the one that sort of consolidated power and made it to where Caesar was an imperial title that was handed down, and it started the transition of Rome from a republic to an empire.
Dictator for life sounds kind of communistic.
Well, so the Romans had this concept. And what it was is, so they didn't want power to be in any one man's hands for very long, but they had a Cincinnatus. They had this idea of what they called a dictator. And in an emergency, whenever people needed to just sort of rally around and follow orders, so like a war or a famine or something that's just terrible, something where there was an emergency, they would declare someone dictator. And whenever you look at the Latin for it, it just basically means one who orders. Like, that's sort of like the root. Like, so dictator, have you ever heard of dictation before?
Yeah.
So dictation is like when someone talks and another person writes it down.
Yeah.
And so the meaning of dictator is literally like they speak orders for other people to follow.
I talk faster than I write.
Okay. Well, that's fine. But so, whenever there was going to be some kind of emergency, they would declare someone a dictator. And the idea is that whenever the emergency was passed, they would lay down those powers. And this guy, Cincinnatus, is considered to be like the ancient Roman model for the dictator. So whenever there was going to be an uprising, he was declared dictator. And then after the uprising was suppressed, he famously resigned and went back to his farms.
That kind of makes a little sense, like if there was a person in charge, because when disaster strikes, some people are going to be running around like chickens with no heads.
So a lot of people compare this guy from our history to Cincinnatus.
George Washington?
Because he very famously, so he was, of course, the general that helped win our independence.
He was the first president.
He was the first president, and then he resigned.
Yeah.
And he basically said, like, this is something that no man should hold this office for too long. Like, so he was the first one. A lot of people compare him to Cincinnatus.
Huh. That's cool.
So let's look at, so Julius Caesar.
That was fast.
Yes. So Dictator Perpetua is dictator for life.
Communism.
Well, it's not necessarily communism. It's just the start of being an emperor. So dictatorship.
Whoa.
So yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so that is the story of crossing the Rubicon. Then it's a metaphor for reaching a point of no return.
The point of no return.
Yes, because Caesar crossed the Rubicon, and when he did, he was committing a treasonous act against Rome, and so he had no choice, victory or death.
Is there like a third option?
Well, no, once you cross the Rubicon, that's pretty much it. You win or die.
Mom, like the violent movie Rubicon, she's just gonna like grab me by the hair and drag me back over it. She's like, no more.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay, so yes, that is what it means. So whenever you hear me say crossing the Rubicon, that means that I'm being fancy when I say that we've reached a point of no return.
Sounds better than the toothpaste one.
Okay, now, so I've been reading this thing. This is what you're supposed to say at the end of one of your videos. You're supposed to tell everybody to like and subscribe.
Oh, yeah.
So do it. Tell everybody, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
I can't talk.
Say it again. Say it right.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. There we go.